Dear friends, colleagues, today we open the first external meeting of the Hakimov's club, which is called after Karim who was the first to establish the cooperation with Saudi Arabia. I give the floor to Ozerov Oleg. Good day, dear colleagues, and certainly we are very happy
Заседание Хакимовского клуба
to have the meeting of the Hakimov's club, which was initiated by Mr. Ozerov, is taking place here in Bashkortostan, which is very important for us. I would like to start from the following thing. Many of you perhaps have visited the Trafalgar Square in London. There is the cathedral of St. Peter's Cathedral, and in that cathedral there are the remains of the Sir of London. We still don't know where the remains of Karim Hakimov is, but Sir Lawrence Ravisky was not that the person who can be equal to Karim Hakimov, because he was repressed and his fate was not known. He was respected. He was valued. The simple person from Dusyanova village of Bishbalak's area has become, in fact, one of the great diplomats of the then young country and of the Russian diplomacy. And, often I think how it happened that the person, certainly he was educated. He paid a lot of attention to education. He had religious education. He had general education. He was always learning, studying, and he even dressed himself as the most fashionable people of that time. He paid a lot of attention to this, and he was always stayed a real diplomat. And he managed to build the unique human relations with Aziz Abdel Ben Saudi, who founded the Kingdom of Saudids, and the relations were so well built up so that there was the time when there was a very, very difficult time in our relations, diplomatic relations, which were stopped after his death, after the repression. But now we are reviving these relations, and we thank you, Oleg Borisovich. We are following your ideas, your initiatives. We have restored the play in our drama theater Krasny Pasha, and certainly next time, maybe not next, but 2025, we will restore the Museum of restored names, and the story of Karim Hakimov will take a decent place there. It's a rather good museum, has quite a number of great exponents. I hope that we will meet over there. Dear friends, life shows us that each territory is rich with its own heroes.
Совсем недавно относительно мы начали
Quite
ясно понимать,
recently, we started to understand that a huge number of
Арктики,
Bashkirian people have relation to the Arctics, work in Arctics, and now we restored the memory about a legendary man, Mr. Alpanov.
Поэтому
The ice crossing, so together we have to remember our great predecessors who has done a lot for the development of this country, of Russia. Thank you for the memory which is there. And we have also published comics, perhaps it's for IT people, but it's also in memory of Karim Hakimov. Thank you, those people. Thank you, people who keep the memory of Karim Hakimov, who will stay in our memory for a long time. Now we will go on with our meeting. We are happy to have you here because Karim Hakimov is a part of the Russian history, and he is one of the basic figures who laid the basics of the Russian policies. And the work of Hakimov is very well notable nowadays. We didn't want to stop our relations with the West. It's the West who stopped relations with us. But we forgot developing our relations with the Western countries. We forgot that we have very long-term relations with Eastern countries. And the basics of these relations were laid down by Karim Hakimov. And it was actually done with the efforts of Karim Hakimov. He actually started convincing the diplomats to study the Arab language, Farsi, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and he actually, did everything the diplomats would respect the culture, the habits of those countries, and be very friendly and respectful to the religions, especially Islam, of those peoples. And recently in Kazan we had Russia Islamic World meeting, and there was a presentation of our patriarch of Moscow and whole Russia, Cyril, who emphasized that these basics, spiritual basics, have to be in the basis of the new way the world is organized, is going to be organized in the soonest future, when the West, everything which is legal, as it is done in the West, everything legal is, okay. So some of the human laws, they were rejected for some strange laws written by strange people. In the basis, there are principles of justice and law as the part of this justice. So today, the lessons which we got from Karim Hakimov are very topical. You can see that lately, in the last years, also due to the efforts of Sergei Lavrov and the Russian diplomacy, we managed to restore the relations with Saudi Arabia, which suffered after repressions, which were actually caused the death of Karim Hakimov and Mr. Tulikov. And now we have to build these relations, new understanding that we are facing a very difficult period of relations with the Western countries, and the basis which has been laid 100 years ago, and now we are coming closer to the 100th anniversary of our relations with Saudi Arabia. So we have to preserve and maintain these relations, and also preparing for the celebrations of 100th anniversary. We became the first country to recognize the Saudi Arabia, and as the memory of this is still in the hearts of the Saudi people, all the people in Saudi Arabia know the name of Karim Hakimov.
So making his name bigger and the things that he were doing all these years established our relationship with Islamic world and with Arabian world. And I think that it's very important, and I hope that we will work on the specific steps on how to work on this anniversary, to have a really good plan, and maybe we're gonna have to create an organizing committee, involve government of the Russian Federation to this work. So in 2026, we could celebrate the 100th anniversary between establishing the relationship between our countries. And in this date, and I want the name of Karim Hakimov to sound proudly during that meeting, who had a huge investment in the relationship between the countries of the West and East. And it doesn't matter what was called, the empire or what. He was on the side of it. He was fighter for our country to be united. He wanted to create a country that will not be that will be unbreakable. And as we can see now, that we do try give it a shot to try to establish to follow his works, because once we are united, then we are going to be powerful. So, Andrei Gennadievich, I'm going to pass the word to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Oleg Borisovich. And I'd like to, dear Radi Faridovich, dear colleagues, I'd like to welcome everyone at the Hakimov's meeting, the Hakimov's Club. I think it's a true gem of the whole Russia investment Sabantui, and working in a frame of such a forum and having such deep forums. And Hakimov's Club is one of the clubs that had the restored names that will allow us to understand the depth of the influence of our history to our continuation of the Soviet Russia and modern Russia. And thank you, Oleg Borisovich, that you find your time and arrived here. That's the position of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Of course, yes, we do understand, because you're the counselor of the special work counselor. And you said that it is important to conduct the Hakimov's Club and to accept that position. So that's why I'm calling everyone to participate actively. Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe you're going to say a couple of words. Dear friends,
Мне очень приятно
I'm very pleased to be here
очередной раз
one more time
в Байской площадке.
in the Sibai area.
Радует, что
Of course, I'm very glad
сегодняшняя повестка
that today's agenda of our forum's agenda
с нашей
corresponds with the federal and the international agenda and with the necessity of development
интенсификации
and the intensification, such a complicated word, between the relations between Saudi Arabia and our relations. And of course, we have some investment activity and we have cooperation in the energetic sphere. And for the last years, truly, we have
России и Саудовской
that cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Russia caused
контуры
and made specific contours that President of Russia had a non-official visit for the last couple of years to Saudi Arabia. It means speaks much of itself.
культурно-исторические
And cultural, historical measurement, which is so-called determines the spirituality and the depth of these relations between Russia and Saudi Arabia.
важно
And it is important not to miss those things, to accept them, to take it into the account,
на таких прагматических
and
и понятных вещах, как
to understand those little pragmatic topics like investments and other work. And here it is very important the presence of the belief.
выступать
And my colleagues are gonna present here their presentations, and they're gonna they're gonna speak about the cultural vector,
более
and they'll make a very more deep analysis. So, dear Presidium, I'd like to grant you with thank you letters. And I would like to do it here at the Hakimov's Club.
не благодарю
The letter goes to Hasanova Regina Znurna
дипломатов
for your work in the work of Karim Hakimov. Thank you for your
а также всех ваших родственников
to the famous Soviet diplomat.
становятся близки и известны
And
России.
more and more modern people of Russia understands and recognize the works of these heroes
Служению Родине.
that serve their country. So I wish you and all your relatives happiness, so you achieve all your goals and all your hopes would fulfill. Thank you very much.
Да, я хотел бы сказать, что
And I would like to say that Zarema Hasanovna
является внучатой племянницей Карима,
is a granddaughter of Karim Hakimov,
внесла большой вклад в сохранение его
and she put a lot of work in the monumentalizing his name, his works, and she is responsible for publishing his autobiography book. Thank you.
Зарим Хазанович, несколько слов.
It's very pleasant, unexpected thing. It's very high evaluation. Dear friends and the guests of the Hakimov's Club, I'm very thankful to you for your invitation. I'm Zarema Gendulina. My grandmother was sister of Karim, and I would like to thank you for the support of this theme of Karim Hakimov, and thank Oleg for his titanic effort for his books, for the movie. We know about them here in Bashkortostan. Bashkortostan has unique materials related Karim Hakimov, and Oleg Borisovich has raised it on the global level, and I'm very proud that my grandfather was the first to raise the topic of repressions. He was collecting the materials in Tomsk, Ufa, Orenburg. There appeared the book and then the museum, and I was raised in the family of my grandparents, and I took part in these events. I was at the opening of this museum, and I'm very grateful to everyone who is taking part in the development of this topic. And as soon as this is my life, and the family links are the most important links. So I thank you very much. Thank you for your input in this work as well, Zarema Hassanovna.
Еще вот я не знаю, есть ли среди
I
присутствующих
don't know if
резида
there is Rezida Galimova among the people present here.
Ну, мы передадим тогда, если
Okay, we will give her, if she's not
сегодня не получилось, мы передадим
she's not here, we will also pass her over our
государственный адрес и
letter of gratitude
человеческую теплоту.
and the warmth of our today's club. Thank you, dear colleagues.
Так, ну, я бы хотел предоставить слово.
I would like to give the floor to
Радик Васильевич, вы здесь?
Radik
Да, я здесь, Олег Борисович.
Glasarovich.
Да, Радик Васильевич, ну, я прошу вас, Амиров, он известный.
Amirov, Mr. Amirov, he is a known Russian journalist who did a lot
Для популяризации
to popularize,
имени
to promote the name of Karim Hakimov. His business now, he represents RIA Novosti, RIA News.
в русском периоде.
And he will tell us about the Orenburg period of life of Karim Hakimov, and
Дома и дома.
he will also dwell on setting up the museum and the house of Karim Hakimov in Orenburg.
К сожалению, я не доехал.
My motherland is 100 kilometers away from here. I was fortunate. I was stopped in Sibay and invited to this forum.
Уехать, но вечером званый ужин.
I was going to leave in the evening, but in the evening there is the reception by the head of the Republic, so I will stay here longer. The Orenburg family, the Orenburg and
Украинская,
land is very, very rich in its history. We know that Karim Hakimov studied in a very rich Tatar village,
Конституционного комитета.
and he took part. He was a commissar in the Revolutionary Committee, and without hiding, I just
Дипломата именно страны.
want to say that developments of Mr. Hakimov as a diplomat took place in Orenburg. Many people know him there and remember him. And here, there we have the memorial boards,
Я
and I
очень
also believe that it's not too much, it's very little. Why not to have the monument to Karim Hakimov?
мы несколько лет назад
Several years ago, together with my friend, we bought a house in which Karim Hakimov lived in Orenburg, and I have my request
создать
to the head of Bashkortostan to support
дом
the museum of Karim Hakimov in Orenburg.
уже в негодности, и который
It's a separate house which is already dilapidated, and we were going to
мало этого
disassemble it.
телефонов,
But nevertheless, there are many, many obstacles. All of a sudden, it turned out that the house of Karim Hakimov is a historical
я обращаюсь к властям
heritage. And so I ask the authorities of Bashkortostan to support this idea, to create the museum of Karim Hakimov.
Башкирии.
We could make a big house of Bashkiria
Вы знаете,
in Orenburg. There is a caravanserai. but it's a religious
большая.
community,
Но вот такой вот
Bashkirian community in Orenburg.
татарские или какие-то такие организации,
But,
общественные,
well, this Bashkirian or Tata organizations, well, unfortunately, they are all
решения, крупные края,
unofficial ones. And
родину, маленькую деревню под Исанголово.
thank you for invitation once more, and that's it, what I wanted to say.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you.
Хотел бы,
I would like to
Васильевич, я хотел бы предоставить слово
give the floor to
Костюковской Анне Леопольдовне,
Anna Kostyukovskaya, who represents here the support center
и она
for innovative development programs, and she will tell us how the Hakimov Club can become the site for the dialogue and the development of a dialogue between Russia and Saudi Arabia. Good day, respected colleagues. I join all the words of thanks for being invited to this forum. As the executive director of the foundation, which is dealing with the projects developing various relations with different regions, I can tell you that the Hakimov's Club is today one of the unique platforms to build a new world, to build a dialogue with the East, with the Eastern countries. It's a strategically important region for the development of this country, and this country is actually very important for the because our interests coincide. As soon as we are present at the Karimov's Club meeting, I want to say that Karimov is not just a unique person. He, in principle, opened for the Soviet Russia, the Arab world, the Islamic world, opened it to this country. He was the first person who brought the Muslims from the Soviet Union to Saudi Arabia, which is still important and valuable. Besides, due to the efforts of Karim Hakimov, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia became to store two main sacred things. And in this relation, I would like to say that Karim Hakimov, as a person on whose example we have to develop the dialogue between different countries, he is the person who has to be remembered by and known by any person of the planet of Earth who can use internet and modern technologies. There were documentaries already, but the full movie is absolutely required, is necessary, and our people have to also get acquainted with the new Arab world, because before we were focused more to the West, on the West, and in the East there are many interesting cultures which can be very useful for our younger generation, where and this dialogue may be built because we are a unique country, and this dialogue may be built between this country especially the Eastern countries, because we are multi-confessional country. And the club is a very unique platform for the further fruitful relations between two countries for their development. And as far as I know, there is a project currently which is going to be implemented in the framework of celebration of 100th anniversary of diplomat relations between our countries. And there will be a number of forums held, economic, cultural, religious, and naturally the cross years of culture in Saudi Arabia and vice versa. And the key person on whom we must focus should be Hakim Karimov. And apart from his diplomatic work, he was also a very interesting person. He had a unique approach to diplomatic work. It's very interesting to learn about him. His life was a big adventure based on doing everything for his motherland. And Oleg Borisovich, I would like you to pay special attention, and we would start implementing a big movie of 8 series, which could be shown within the Russian Federation and also in Saudi Arabia. If it will be possible, I believe it would be one of the strategic projects in the framework of 100th anniversary, because it will allow showing the past relations and the future relations, and to show that the Russian Federation can put an effort, all its technical and use all the technical and you see, we have 2 great producers here who may tell us how it is possible to implement this idea about strengthening the memory of Karim Hakimov. You said very important words, and before I give the floor to our famous Igor Mikhalkov-Konchalovsky, our famous director, movie director, the issues of culture and the dialogue of cultures, they are one of the main things which actually strengthen our new relations, because if not culture, what shall we discuss? Today we saw the Bashkirian culture here in Sibay, and we can see how rich it is. And this is our main treasure, not economy. It's certainly important to have a good economy, but our main richness, our main destiny is the culture, and the multi-facetedness of this culture is our main destiny. And this is my words before I give the floor to Yegor Andreevich. Good day, dear friends. I'm very happy to be here with this goal, with the mission, with the interest, with... And certainly, this project, I learned about this project. There was an offer for the project. I got recently about Karim Hakimov. Now, when we, due to some historical processes and maybe also due to our will as a country, we entered the historical period when there are some other things which are becoming more important for us than it was 1 or 5 years ago, or 10 years, and even 25 years ago. And we start to watching. I can see the witness to this everywhere. We had lunch. There were representatives from Iran, China, Uzbekistan, and I can see the confirmation of what I can see by TV and get from the news. So looking inside of what's happening within our country, inside our country, and start being considering start being more analytical in relation towards what is waiting for our country in the closest future. We begin and we start raising from some forgotten areas the heroes which have made an invaluable input into the development of the post-Soviet Russia. And it's not strange how well, how consonant it is with what our famous diplomat Karim Hakimov was dealing with. We started to get back these people, promoting the memories of these people. And there are many, many heroes in this country who are still there so that we could value their work and the importance of these people. Getting acquainted with the life of Hakimov, I got it that the phrase, the role of a human being in history, it's differently topical in different periods of life, but it was the time when such people with their flexibility, ability to hear other people from another culture and bring over to them some things from our Soviet and not only Soviet but also Muslim culture, bring these things over to them and create something, grow something out of that. And this is a very human, a very interesting story, a very tragic one in its result. And perhaps this tragedy makes it heroic. And it seems to me that to make a movie, a serious movie, because life is long, and Hakimov lived through different periods. He was fighting, and he was also a worker who worked for some rich guy, and he was also sitting together with the Arab monarch, sat with him at the same table. This is a very special biography which allows us to look at this life and visualize and interpret it
Хотя, конечно, еще огромный путь впереди.
as the way we can it. And certainly it takes a lot of work and writing scenario, etc., etc. There should be casting, etc., etc. I hope that this project will have a long life, and I'm very thankful for being invited and to think this project over. And I'm very happy that the roots of this project are going from here, from Bashkortostan, from Trans-Urals. It's telling, I like this word because it's telling about the size of this country. Sibay is, well, I've never been here before, though I visited Bashkortostan before. I wish this project, the whole project, and the Hakimov's club as its part, to make well, a good real movie. We have to look at new markets, we have to look at new territories. We have to change our European vector, which provides for some Cannes or Berlin or Venetian festivals. And now, today, we were sitting, sharing our bread with the respected representatives of Iran, of China, and now we thank Oleg Borisovich for his striking work and its depth. I wish all of you good perspectives and continuation, and I hope that this movie will have many series and it will be implemented and will be an input in what we are speaking about today. I can speak for a long time, but I have to stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I, excuse me, Oleg Borisovich. And the last thing I would like to say is that we have a producer from St. Petersburg, Pavel Vasilyevich Zubenko, with whom we finished our work, TV show about the blockade of Leningrad, our favorite city during the Great Patriotic War. And very recently, yesterday, we finished the editing. And now, right from the beginning, as the discussion of the new project is going on, I'd like Pasha to say a couple of words, because me personally, I was invited here by Pavel. Thank you. Good day, dear colleagues. I'm very thankful for the invitation. Thank you, Oleg Borisovich. Thank you very much. And I'd like to continue Igor Andreevich's word about the movie making. And as for today, we have huge possibilities of development of movie production. To co-work with the countries Russia have never worked before, especially the eastern countries between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Russia. And I'd like to pay your attention on the importance of the developments in the movie making. The close relationship and cultural relationship, including Karim Hakimov, who did a great input into the development, and it will allow us to develop the movie business in the future. And exchange experience in movies will allow to people get closer together and make it more understandable and make it more open, to try open the world of the other countries. Sometimes, unfortunately, we don't usually understand. and via movies and TV shows to make it more understandable and reachable. And the understanding of Karim Hakimov, it's a very significant date because it's going to be 100th annual relationship between Russia and Saudi Arabia, but we don't want to stop these relationships. And I would like to add about the TV show a couple of words to present it to you, to give it a speech. So, TV show, we will speak about the life of the Soviet diplomat Karim Hakimov, and one of his greatest achievements is establishing good relationships between young Soviet Republic and Saudi Arabia. And I'm gonna speak about it, about the mechanics of these projects in a couple of words. So, main story, which gonna be on the screenplay, we're gonna show the way of the Karim Hakimov from birth to his death. So that's why the storytelling will start through with the dangerous adventure through the desert to meet Abdelaziz, and we're gonna periodically move back in the history and understanding the final way, which is gonna be rarely relate the final decisions and achievements of the wise man. We will see him being established as a saint person, and lessons that he's gonna learn through the revolutionary, and the period will take place of jihadism and the wars, ideal wars between Hakimov and Sultan Galiyev Ahmed Zaki, and his first diplomacy experience in Turkestan, where he gonna create a diplomatic career in Iran. And we're planning to call the famous actors of Russia, and we would like, and I hope that we will be able to invite the actors from Saudi Arabia to give them a part, one of the main parts in our TV show, and so they could transfer through their mentality, their probably experience and the spirit of they will perform and show the spirits of the country. So Karim Hakimov, I think we hope it's a dream cast. We can see Yuri Borisov. I think that he's very look like visually like Karim Hakimov, and Yuri Borisov is a great actor. His counterpart, Lawrence of the Arabia, is going to be played by Ivan Yankovsky. Georgy Checherin will be played by Viktor Sukharukov, unprecedented, and the wife of the Hakim Karimov, Khadija Mugaeva, she's a great actress. Mother of Karim Hakimov will be played by Natalia Arimbasarova. All right, Magnia, the sister of Karim Hakimov, and Ravshan Kurkov. One of the main roles is a blind Bayaz. We would like to see Andres Malikov as Slipoy Bayaz, blind Bayaz, I mean. Izya Kamali is going to be played by Artem Tkachenko. Sultan Galiyev by Ivan Mulin. Ahmed Zaki Validi by Dmitry, everyone's favorite Dmitry Nagiev. I think that he's going to do this role well, perform this role well. And Kovalevsky is Evgeny Stichkin, is the person who taught Karim Hakimov the Marxism learnings, and Hussein Nizda is Rinal Mukhametov, and Molotov Vyacheslav Mikhailovich will play it. We see Evgeny Tkachuk and Mikhail Kalinin. We hope that he will be played by Evgeny Mironov. he will be portrayed by. So here I'd like to finish the presentation, and in a couple of words we try to describe how we see this TV show, and furthermore in the future we would like to we also would like to make a full movie beside the TV show in cooperation with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, inshallah.
Да, спасибо большое.
Well, thank you very much.
Ну, нужно сказать, что
Well, we can say that
размаха, то и
if there is no scale, there is not going to be there will be no result.
масштабно смотреть далеко и выбирать
So we have to see it at a bigger scale.
представителей Ирана.
And unfortunately, representatives of Iran has already left, because I had a discussion with them
Этих вопросов.
of these questions.
Сказать, что
And I'd like to say that Karim Hakimov played a huge role not only in establishing the relationship between the Saudi Arabia and Russia, but also in establishing connections between Iran and the Soviet Union.
Поэтому
That's why
в городах
it's going to be in 2 cities.
поэтому обсуждал.
And I discussed this topic with our Iranian friends, and I think that
Такие сюжеты или
Iranian plot, or the plots of Iran, and roles of the Karim Hakimov in the establishment of the relationship development between these countries will be
я хотел бы
suitable. And I'd like to remind you that Karim Hakimov worked in 4 countries.
Бухаре,
In Bukhara, as the representative of diplomacy in Soviet Russia.
он был на
Then he was transferred to Iran, where he worked for 3 years at the General Council.
2004 году
In 1924, he was
в Саудовскую Аравию.
he went to work in Saudi Arabia, and 1929 he was working in Yemen, and then he turned back to Saudi Arabia,
Вот это
and that worked. Actually, you can call it as a benefice. It's a beneficial work. Of course, there were some followers,
практически всю
but all the line of extra international relation was conducted by Karim Hakimov, you may say, on himself, solely.
Штейн. И он, так сказать,
And Karim Hakimov was representing as a general counsel, and he played a huge role.
документы,
Documents say that we were allowed to retrieve and find in Russian archives.
я надеюсь,
And I hope that during the work on the movie,
мы еще
we could, we will enrich our knowledge
вот некоторыми
with some details and aspects. Maybe there will be a huge details on what input Karim Hakimov did in relations between Iran and Yemen, because beside that, the movie was written based on archives. I'm not sure that all documents were listed there, or that all the documents were allowed to look through, because they have classification like 2nd and 3rd class. But now, figure of Karim Hakimov is looks very different as the background in the looking at the relations with the Far East.
работы над фильмом, мы
And I guess that in the process of working on a movie, we will give the renewed version of the book on the destiny of Karim Hakimov.
не будем называть это постпродакшн.
I'm not going to call it post-production. It's a bad English word.
Я думаю, что
But I think that
работа должна носить
the work has to carry, has to be on a huge scale in political and biography and cultural,
сонной.
civilized,
Сейчас мы видим, что
because now we can see that
было сделано так.
that was done before had not only political significance, but also has a culturally civilized significant meaning. And I think the work on the movie will allow us to understand that huge ground of relations with the Arabic world. So if there are no other participants, we would like to finish maybe. Or maybe someone else has something else to say. Yes, I do. From my point of view, I'd like to pay your attention separately on a work on a movie and working on the village Hisanova to show all the beauty of the Bashkortostan. Yeah, because that's a really principally important question. You are correct 100% in speaking on the foreign word.
Само собой разумеется,
Of course, you know what I'm saying.
когда я начал
When I started my work on the movie, what I started with, on a book, I went through Disanova. That's the first thing I did. I looked at the beauty, the vast vistas of this place, at the people who live there.
снимать фильм,
And definitely, once we start filming, we must keep it to the source and show the beauty and the magnificency of this world, the place of where the hero was reborn. I think that's the most important thing that when we think on the movie, and we want to show that our land gives birth to such famous, talented people. Thank you.